I'm going to call this meeting of the Woodburn Planning Commission to order. Tonight is June 13th, 2024. I am Lisa Ellsworth and I am the chair of the Planning Commission. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Lassen. Here. Commissioner Corning.
Here.
Commissioner Berlin.
Here.
Vice Chair Hernandez Mejia.
Here.
I'm not seeing Commissioners Bartel. Oh, look at that. Commissioner Bartel.
I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you. And I had an excused absence for Commissioner Bravo and Chair Ellsworth.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, would everybody join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Do we have any additions, corrections? Any adjustments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, do we have any business from the public on anything that is not already on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll just move on to communication from staff.
I don't have any.
Okay. So tonight we have two quasi-judicial public hearings. The purpose of these hearings is to ensure that interested parties can offer relevant testimony and evidence to the commission in a timely and orderly manner. Because these are quasi-judicial hearings, commissioners should maintain an open mind and not make any decisions until after the hearing is closed and all evidence is presented at the hearing and has been considered. Okay. With that, I am going to open the public hearing for DR 24-05, which is a design review of two covers for play structure, equipment, and an outdoor event space at Nuevo Amanecer apartments. So before we go any further, has there been any ex parte conversations with the applicant or anyone else?
No ex parte, but I used to work there, so I'd like to put that in. I
Okay.
feel like I can still make an impartial decision though.
Okay, how about any site visits? Has anyone gone to the site? Seeing none does anyone else have a conflict or a bias that would preclude you from being impartial? Okay, does anyone have a challenge for any of the commissioners based on that they have disclosed so far? No. With that, would you please read the hearing statement for us?
Both Oregon law and the Woodburn Development Ordinance govern evidentiary quasi-judicial land use hearings and require that at the commencement of the hearing, this statement be read to all persons in attendance. The applicable substantive criteria for this land use decision are listed in the staff report and are as follows. And these are from the Woodburn Development Ordinance, WDO. WDO 2.02, 2.06.03, 3.01, 3.02, 3.03, 3.07, 3.11, 4.01, 4.02, and 5.03.02. The hearing will proceed in the following order: staff report, applicant's presentations, testimony in favor of the application, testimony in opposition to the application, rebuttal, closure of the record, deliberation, and decision. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the applicable substantive criteria just stated or other criteria in a plan or land use regulation which the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties the opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise a constitutional or other issue relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government to respond to the issue precludes any action for damages in circuit court. Any party willing wanting a continuance or to keep the record open must make that request while the record is still open.
Thank you. Staff report.
Thank you. I'm happy to introduce Heidi Henchar, Associate Planner. I think she was here one time before, so you haven't all met her. She worked on this project. She's going to walk you through it.
Chris, that was my first slide, but that's okay. Good evening, commissioners. I'm Heidi and community members. The issue before you tonight is an action on a land use application. It's a type 3. The Planning Commission decides on type 3 applications. And the staff report, its attachments, and any written testimony received so far are entered into the record. So the basic summary is that the proposal is to build 2 covers to shelter the playground and a courtyard and event area. It's in the medium density residential zone. It's surrounded by apartments, a preschool, and some offices. The subject property is an acre large. There will be no parking, expansion, landscaping, or street improvements. And the one condition is that a public utility easement be dedicated along North 5th Street. The site is located around the middle of the city, just along Highway 214 this is North 5th Street right here. And a little bit closer view. Oops. And this is an aerial of the site. So this is the central plaza area where they're looking to put a covered structure. As you can see, it gets a lot of sun. So I imagine this will be shady in the summer and protection in the winter. And then this is their play structure. And there'll be a cover over that.
The pictures are not showing up online.
Thank you, Commissioner Bartel. Let me see if I can fix that. Would probably help if I shared my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Oh, there's the red box there.
Perfect.
that's the big one. Okay, you can see it now?
Yeah, good.
Okay, great. So I'll just, I think the most important one. So here's the vicinity, regional aerial close-up. So, okay, sorry about that, everyone online. This is that central plaza area, the playground, the preschool, and the offices. Just to orient you. So this is a photo of that central plaza area taken from the south, looking north. Again, this is the preschool over here, the offices for Nuevo Amanecer over here, and the playgrounds behind this shrubbery. There's a close-up of this central plaza. That's the playground. And judging from the site plan that they proposed, it'll probably come right about here and over here, which of course we'll review in detail when they bring in the building plans. But the proposal will, as the proposal was submitted, it met site setbacks and lot coverage. I took this picture from the right of way. This is just south of Highway 214. So the top of the structures may be visible from Highway 14, but it would be through these trees and over this fence. So this is the site plan that was submitted. Like you can kind of see what I was talking about. It's not going to cover that entire plaza, just this part, and then not the entire play area, but that this is, you can kind of see through to the structure that's there. And these are the elevations that were submitted, and this was the land use application. So when they submit building permits, I expect these will be much more detailed, but gives you an idea of what we're looking at. Structure without walls, just beams and a roof. The applicant submitted this as an example of another project that he did that's kind of similar. So with steel beams, wooden trusses, and a metal roof. And the idea is to blend in to the surroundings and, yeah, blend into the surroundings. So, there are more details in my staff report, in the analysis and findings section. I go through the ordinance section by section and make sure that it met all the criteria. And you have that in your packets. The staff and the project contractor have worked really well together. He answered all my questions and was very responsive. We considered a number of items in the review, such as urban design, safety, parking. No trees are planned to be removed, and they're not planning to put any lights up. So staff's recommendation is that you approve it with conditions. And if you have any immediate questions, I'm happy to answer them. Also, I believe the applicant is on the call. Is that you, Christian?
Well, I'm Ron Berkey. I'm the contractor and I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Oh, great. Yes. Hi, Ron. Thanks for attending.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for us?
Can we go through the conditions?
Yes. Let me get out of this. I don't have a slide specifically for it, but basically the conditions are: 1, do what you say you're going to do. It's outlined in the staff report in more legal terms, but it's the typical general condition that we have every time. And then the second one is to dedicate that 5-foot easement. I do have that shown here. Right here. It's going to be, for some reason, we don't have a public utility easement along North 5th. None of us are totally sure why. We do have one along 214, so they don't need to provide one there, but they do need to dedicate a 5-foot utility easement along this frontage. And actually at 5 o'clock today, I received the survey documentation that they've already had it surveyed and are ready to go, working with Public Works to get that recorded. Those are the only conditions.
Okay.
So what is consolidated?
Nothing.
Well, it says consolidated applications.
Oh, that
Two
might be.
structures. Is it the two?
I mean, it
Two
just, it
structures.
says, it doesn't really say anything on, under item. I just was curious what. the-
Is that in, you're talking about in my staff report?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I have it here. I can look at this. Do you know the page?
12 at the top.
Well, just on it, on the last page, right under recommendations of approval, it says staff recommends approval of the consolidated applications. I would just, I
Okay.
couldn't see what was,
Yeah, no, I think that, we kind of try to keep the language very similar
Oh.
throughout these, and I think that was just a dinosaur language. Sorry about that. Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
Let me introduce Ron Berkey, as he mentioned on the phone. He's the gentleman who built this structure and is proposing to build something similar at FHDC. Ron, do you want to can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah,
Again?
I'm Ron Berkey. I'm a contractor in the state of Oregon, and we've been contacted by the people here to build these structures. And we were going to, do the plate cover, and then with this, we were told that they would like to build another structure in front at the same time, because it was, just to get this done at one time. So that's why we're doing the two, and they're going to be basically like the picture showed. There'll be steel posts that are engineered. They go into the ground, and there'll be a structure above it, a wood frame structure, which gets painted and stained natural colors to surrounding buildings, and then there's a metal roof that goes on top. It's kind of similar to something you see in a park setting or something like that.
Mr. Berkey, can you give us your address for the record, please?
Okay, it's my address for like my home address.
Where you would like any documents sent.
Okay, well, it's PO Box 1129, McMinnville, Oregon is my where I send all my business stuff, and that's zip code 97128. And I live in McMinnville too, at 424 Southeast Debbie Street.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant?
I do not. I love it.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to testify in favor of this project? Hearing none, do we have any
That would be me.
opponents?
Sorry.
Oh,
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Christian Menesorita. I'm the asset manager for Farm Worker Housing Development Corporation. So I have been working closely with Ron regarding these two shaded areas, covers. I just want to explain that both of these are really crucial and these are really important. Shading for the playground is important as our early community center is growing. I was hoping to provide some sort of shade for our kids. And additionally, as you know, it is raining season, this will allow them to use the playground during those raining seasons. Additionally, for our plaza, obviously, FHCC always provides a lot of opportunities and holds events for the community, our residents, and across Woodburn. So this would allow us to, of course, provide shade during hot summers, but also potentially have events during the raining seasons as well.
Christian, could you state your address and, well, I guess just your address. We've got your full name for the record, please.
Of course, I could definitely do that. My name is Christian Menesorita. The address for is 1274 5th Street, Suite 1A, Woodburn, Oregon, 97071.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
do we have anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Do we have anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, seeing no one in the audience, there's no need for a rebuttal. Does the commission have any questions before I close this hearing? No, so I'm going to close the hearing and now we can deliberate. Deb or Commissioner Bartel, I'll give you the first shot at speaking.
Thank you. I think it's very thoughtfully done. I think it's going to add a lot of value to the area. It looks beautiful, and I have absolutely no qualms about this happening. I think it looks terrific.
Thank you. Commissioners?
I agree.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, it looks like we are at a point where we are ready for a motion.
I move that DR 2405 covers for play structure and outdoor event area at Nuevo Amanecer Apartments, 1274 North 5th Street, be approved according to the provisions of the staff report, and that a final decision be prepared for the signature of the chair.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay. So with that, I would like to open the public hearing for ANX 23-03, which is an annexation into the city limits of approximately 1.43 gross acres located at 1025 Brown Street, including a zone change to residential single family. Okay. I'm going to open the hearing, or I'm going to, open it. So do we have any ex parte conversations or site visits that we need to declare? Do we have any conflicts or biases that we need to declare? I guess the only thing that I would declare is I live on Wilson, which is about, I don't know, a stone's throw from Brown Street. But I can completely put my personal things aside and deliberate based on the evidence. So are there any challenges to the commission? Seeing none, can we have the staff please read the hearing statement?
Both Oregon law and the Woodburn Development Ordinance govern evidentiary quasi-judicial land use hearings and require that at the commencement of the hearing, a statement be read to all persons in attendance. The applicable substantive criteria for this land use decision are listed in the staff report and are as follows. From the Transportation System Plan, Figure 2, and from the Woodburn Development Ordinance, WDO 5.04.01 and 5.04.04. The hearing will proceed in the following order: staff report, applicant's presentations, testimony in favor of the application, testimony in opposition to the application, rebuttal if necessary, closure of the record, deliberation, and decision. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the applicable substantive criteria just stated or other criteria in a plan or land use regulation which the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties with the opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise a constitutional or other issue related to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Any party wanting a continuance or to keep the record open must make that request while the record is still open.
Thank you. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. Good evening, all. This is
Evening.
Colin Cortez, Senior Planner. And in a moment, I'll load a slide presentation about the annexation. The agenda item is Annexation 24-01 for 1025 Brown Street. It is just the annexation with the zone change. There is no development proposed with this application. As you might recall, it's a type 4 application, meaning the commission's role tonight is to make a recommendation to the city council on this annexation and zone change, and the council would hold its own public hearing. And as a formality, I'll take a moment to enter the staff report, its attachments, and excuse the typo, there's no addendum. It's just the staff report and its attachments that are part of the record for tonight. As a very short summary, the annexations of a little more than 1.4 acres. It's along the west side of Brown Street between where Comstock Avenue and Bridlewood Lane meet to the north. And the nearest street to the south is Tulip Avenue in Boone's Crossing. More specifically about where the site is, this is a vicinity map of the city. The green are the park areas. The reddish color square in the center is City Hall for orientation. And the property in question is here to the south central area. That is 1025 Brown Street in purple. If annexed, it would be zoned similar to adjacent areas for single family, the RS zoning district. And on the right, you can see an aerial image of what the property looks like from the air, outlined in purple. It is almost a perfect triangle. So as far as process, as the commission has seen before, there's a part of the staff report called analyses and findings of how the proposal does or doesn't meet applicable regulatory provisions and has a condition or conditions of approval as necessary. This proposal is quite simple compared to some of the things you've seen in the past. The property is very much in the urban growth boundary and is adjacent to city limits. It's adjacent on all sides, in fact, so it's very much eligible for annexation. It meets the general criteria for annexation. And so for those reasons, staff does recommend approval of the annexation with one condition, And what this condition does is accommodates the applicant's proposed annexation agreement and requires that the agreement be resolved before the annexation would become effective. On this next slide, I describe what that agreement is. The impetus or reason for this agreement coming about is concerned by staff that the legislature would eventually preempt local governments from being able to require the usual public improvements for development, specifically housing developments, and even more so middle housing developments, based on potential changes to statute and administrative rules. The applicant did take the initiative to do the draft of the agreement, and the applicant and staff have been revising the agreement right up to the report. I want to stress that the commission focus tonight should be on the annexation itself and the one condition, and less so on the agreement itself, that the applicant and staff will work out by the time the annexation would be approved by council, more or less. And I do acknowledge that the applicant did want to make one small change, not to the condition, but to some summary text in the body of the staff report. It's on page 3. It's a summary paragraph number 6. Staff simply acknowledges that the applicant wants it to be omitted from a council staff report because the applicant didn't feel the summary was accurate. And so staff will gladly make sure that that paragraph doesn't appear again in any report. And that is pretty much it. Be glad to take any immediate questions the commissioners might have before the applicant gets introduced.
Does anyone on the commission have general questions before we move forward?
Just what you said about single family zoning, residential. I thought that wasn't able to be done now. Everything was open to not middle, I guess, multiple housing, a fourplex or a duplex or.
And that's true. And your recollection's right. So this zoning, if it were annexed, the zoning assigned to it would be RS, which is our single family zoning district. And as you know, in the last few years, there's been a slight modification requirement by the state to allow for what they call middle housing on these properties. That's just true everywhere in the state on all single family districts. Middle housing is duplexes, triplexes, could be quads, could be cottage clusters, but also could have single family lots on here. That's just a fact. That's a statutory requirement.
But they can't restrict it to only that. To only single.
That's correct. Yeah, the state has come down and been
Right.
very clear about
Yeah.
that.
Any other questions? No? Well, at this time, I would like to invite the applicant up. Please come forward, give us your name and address. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Brian Cavanis, and I'm with Stafford Development Company, also Stafford Homes and Land, the owner, 8840 Southwest Holly Lane, Suite 200 in Wilsonville, zip code 97070. I'd like to begin by thanking staff for their efforts. We have been working on this item at least since January after the first of the year. And we've made our best efforts to accommodate staff's concerns. We have a history here. Stafford, we're the ones that did Smith Creek. And we would just like to continue successful communications and providing good housing opportunities for the city of Woodburn. And having said that, again, I'd like to, thank Mr. Kerr and Mr. Cortes for, everything that they have done. We have come up with an agreement that will be recorded and will run against the property. It will impose certain obligations on future development of the property, however that comes out. It could be residential housing. As Commissioner Berlin noted, it could be middle housing. That's going to be determined at the time based upon what the market is looking for. So I can't tell you what's going to happen, but yes, as you point out, it could. But what eventually happens is what the market wants in that demand. I would just like to put myself here to answer any questions that you might have. As noted, this is an island annexation. It's surrounded on all four sides. It has services that are being provided to it. And yeah, that's about it. Is there anything that I can help you with or answer any questions?
Commissioner Bartel, do you have any questions?
I do not.
No. Okay, with that, I'm going to ask if anyone in the audience or online has testimony in favor of this application. Hearing none, does anyone online or in the room have opposition to this particular application? Hearing none, seeing none, there is no need for a rebuttal. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and we can deliberate. All I can say is it's landlocked. We might as
Right.
well bring it into the city. That just makes good sense. But I do want to say that I appreciate both the applicant and the city working together to make sure that we're looking at a good use of it in the future when we do. So please continue working on that agreement. And I'm sure that council will be very interested in the exact details. With that, if there's no more discussion, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Colin, what you mentioned on that paragraph 6 on page 3, is that mentioned in the motion? Or?
There's no need to mention it in the motion.
I move the planning commission recommend to the city council that the city council approve, that Brown Street annexation ANX 24-01 be approved with conditions according to the provisions of the staff report.
Second.
So you said 01 and the motion says 03. Can I get clarification on what the actual number is?
The case file is ANX 24-01.
24-01. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay. Is there any business from the commission? So the only thing I want to say is that I attended, along with Commissioner Berlin, the city council meeting on Monday. And they are looking at the food cart recommendations that we sent to them. It'll be interesting. They will have to have their own hearing and we'll get more information as that progresses. Mary, did you want to talk about anything?
Your traffic, what?
Traffic is, you know, we can talk
Noise.
about traffic and noise if you'd like. I'm
Was,
giving you the
or was it
opportunity.
enough at the city council meeting?
We don't control that, so yeah. you can
No,
take
but
those
we
up
do
there.
consider traffic and noise and other impact as we make our decisions on things. So
On land use issues. we-
on land use issues, yes, absolutely. Okay, any updates from staff?
I don't, as you said, the council is looking at food carts. So what happened was we came in and after your proposed code amendments. Sorry about that. Here we are. After your recommendation, we did a sort of a work session, introduced the amendments to them, talked about the issue, what was proposed, and came back. It was a robust discussion, which is a good thing, right? These are difficult policy decisions and the council's was looking at it and asked a lot of good questions. We're coming back again in, I guess, 10 days or so, whatever that math is, for the actual public hearing and for them to consider the changes. I'm not expecting a lot of dramatic changes. I think they have the exact same goals you do overall.
Did it seem, I'm sorry, did it seem pretty positive? I mean,
Yeah, it did. Again, they were good questions, kind of, you know, you went through the whole process and got to see it from all the nuts and bolts from beginning to end. They're just getting it kind of tossed on them. So they have some of these pretty much the same types of questions What impact will this have on existing carts? What's the difference between a table in front of a restaurant or a push cart? All of those same kind of questions. So that's the reason we had the work session, so we could just talk through these things so that we come back to the public hearing, they have a good feel for it. For what it's worth, at that meeting, I don't know how much you all follow every council meeting, but they also adopted the city budget and the URA budget. They're slightly different bodies. They have different budgets they adopt. Went very well. If you don't know, I think it's always good to take a look. Feel free to read through the budget, at least the budget statement. There's a nice statement that the city administrator puts together that kind of outlines, this is what we're trying to achieve with the city. This is our current status. Think of it like a state of the city that the city administrator puts together in front of every budget. I think they're helpful. Spends a lot of time, and again, those provide a lot of the direction for where we're going with the city, and talks a little bit about looking backwards. You didn't know it. I do think it's worth pointing out, the city's doing very well financially, and is about to be doing very well financially for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is because of the amount of development activity we're seeing. And it's taken some time.
At what cost?
But it's taken time, but ultimately those come onto the books. And you're right. Your job and our job and what our codes need to do is to try to mitigate the adverse impacts while trying to get all the positive impacts of growth. It's hard. It's a tough balancing. It's tough. Yeah, it's really hard.
Jet.
But that went on, that was Monday night as well. I don't think I have any other updates. Something else, might have a few people. We're gonna have some planners out next week. If you're calling and looking for folks, I'll be around, of course.
What's the possibility of our next meeting in June taking place?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed that. We're not going to be having a meeting on the 27th. When we come back, I do expect 2 public hearings for us in July. And it could be a bit controversial. I'll send out an email with some details of them. Essentially, so we're going to be getting a few, I know, controversial applications that you're going to be hearing. And some of you are newer and haven't been here when we've had either full rooms or close to filled up rooms. So what I'm going to do is I'll send out an email with a little description of the project that you're going to be hearing about and a reminder about your ex parte requirements, because it can be a challenge. You'll probably get, I call it buttonhole, or someone's just going to grab you in the safe way and say, you know, that project is awesome and I can't wait for it to happen. That's not going to happen. They're going to say they have a lot of issues, and just be careful about the way you talk about it when it comes up. And the answer is always the same. Anyone who has an issue, you encourage them to come on down and speak their mind here, or they can provide written testimony to staff, and we'll make sure that it gets to you, to the applicant, to everybody, so it's very transparent. Not doing that will cause an enormous problem, right? It will essentially put your decision in jeopardy, and any decision the city makes in jeopardy. So that's your role. You can call Chris with any specific questions, but I'll send out an email in the next few days with some of these projects that are coming in.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder on that.
Thank you.
I had a question. I happened to see the city council meeting online. So is the whole planning department going downstairs?
So over the next 4 months, the city's going to be doing a refurbishment, let's say, of the basement. I'm happy to sort of give you a quick walk around downstairs if you want to see what it looks like now, sure, just so we can brag about it when it's done. The basement's not open to the public. The public's never down there.
It used to be the police department.
This building used to be the police department. I don't know what went on in the basement before. I couldn't tell you when it was
There used to be
PE.
a lot of boxes stored. I can remember.
There always are.
Cardboard
So
boxes.
as part of the budget that's approved for the next fiscal year, I don't remember the number. I want to say approximately $580,000 or so is about what the contract's for. We have a contractor come in to redo the basement to create more office spaces down there. A big part of it is for building, won't be for planning. But we have our inspectors who are in and out during the day, all day long. They have a lot of plan review tables. They need to spread out a little bit. They do a lot of conferring over plans. They do a lot more detailed work over plans and doing plan review. And they're in and out a lot. Of course, they're out doing inspections all day long. They use the basement now, and we're going to be expanding that out for them. And we'll open up spaces for parks, and it'll be a little bit of an area for meeting spaces down there. And we're adding a restroom as well as a respite room for like a nursing room. So we're looking forward to that. We've waited a long time for something like that to happen. And about half that money comes out of the building budget. Thanks for reminding me about that. I'm always happy to answer any kind of questions about overall things at the city.
Okay, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Meeting adjourned.